the understanding of the mind, bringing in like these subconscious messages. It's amazing. But the part that is the scary part is that it does increase the sense of self. And so you still have societies like the Tibetan society, well, they're changing now too, but when I was studying with the Tibetans, they actually showed me true absence of envy. It was amazing. Like academically, in schools there was strong sense of competitiveness and envy. Well, competitiveness is all right, just being competitive. That means, well, if they're doing well, I also want to do well. Being inspired, like to kind of use a positive side of that, like not an extreme version. Oh, if they are working hard and they are achieving that, I want to be like that. So that's a good thing. That is not wrong. You're rather inspired, or you're rather motivated to work harder because other people do too. That's okay. But then we take it to extreme. I want to be better, and I don't want them to be so good. Right? So if you do well and the other person does better, you're miserable. If you do well and the other person does worse, you're happy. So it's not about your success, it's about your success and the other person not doing as well. So being better than the other person. That's where the problem comes in. And in Tibetan society, it's not there to that extent. I saw it again and again with the people I studied with, and that was truly inspiring, because you see it works. And you know what? They're much happier. The end result is more happiness. So beautiful. Because you can't have all the success of everyone. You're just one person. We're just one person. How successful can we be? But if you're truly happy for everyone else's success, so you can be happy about your success, but you're also happy about everyone else's. Oh my God, they got this promotion. How good for them. I know they wanted that. I'm so happy. Or, I don't know, they did really well in their, okay, my I levels on my GED, whatever, my exams, I wasn't that well, but they did really well. Well, I'm happy for them. Good for them. So my classmates were really like that. They were like, well, I didn't do so well in my exams, well, but, you know, he did. I'll invite him for dinner now. Let's celebrate. Seriously, let's have a party. You did really well. Okay? It's not about secrecy, because Tibetans, they put it up on the board for a month. Number 1, number 2, number 3, right? Oh gosh, in other countries, in the US now, it's like tiny little pieces of paper, and you just know your roll number and that's it. Because of the danger of suicide and what have you, right? So you see, very different human beings, yes, all humans, but because of the society they grew up in, very much influenced by Buddhist ideas, so they're not they're much more laid back, and they're much happier. Much happier. So when they die, they may not have 3 cars, and they may not have a PhD to their name, but their entire lives they were happier. And the PhD you can't take with you, and the car you can't take with you. I mean, if we think about it, the things we work so hard for, we can't take them with us, right? So much energy is spent. So much energy is spent on things that they don't give us happiness. They're just very superficial. And so the Tibetans, they've really shown me, and they've shown a lot of other people, that if you just put this into practice, we can be much more satisfied, much happier. And the jealousy part, or the envy, the part of envy, it actually makes sense. And we're going back to how the I exists. It makes sense because our sense of I is just a figment of the imagination. It's just a creation of the mind. I'm over here, you're over there. I is just labeled. From this perspective, this is I. But from your perspective, I'm other. I'm other and I both. Right? But I only see one perspective. I only see one perspective. So only I. And the thing is, how can we prove that the I is a creation of the mind? Very simple. If you're a mother, you know. Because when you have a child, the I has become a little has included more. I'm not saying bigger as in stronger, but now the I includes another person. So if the I were as defined as we may believe, we couldn't have a sense of my child being a part of me. My child is a part of me. Different mind, different body, and still I can feel my child's happiness is just as important as my own, or maybe even more important. Wow, the things our mind can do. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? The fact we can love another child as much as ourselves, or even more. Because there's a feeling they're a part of me. Actually, they're not literally part. They're not like grown to my hip, right? I mean, they're a part of me as long as they're in my womb. But once they're out, well, for the rest of their life, they're an individual person. They're not really part of, and still I can feel they're part of me. And the amazing thing is, then you multiply. True, it's not like now your love is halved, it's doubled. Many times I tell this story. It's really ridiculous, my sense of not understanding. When I heard of a mother who had many children losing one child, and my reaction was, well, she's got still a lot of others. Kind of like, what's the big deal? I mean, no, I didn't say that, but I was a little bit more sensitive than that. But like, oh, well, she still has others. It's not that bad. It was almost like your love is halved, so therefore you only have like a fifth of a loss, because you still have 4 children left. It doesn't work like that. Because what happens with our love, with our care, with our feeling of closeness towards that person, our unconditional love, actually, right? Not always. Sometimes the conditional love is there, but there are moments of unconditional love. It's multiplied. It's not limited. It's not limited to one person, as in like, or like now you have like just a fifth of that unconditional love. No, it grows. The more children you have, the more your love grows. If everything goes well. Of course, there may be lots of circumstances and da-da-da-da-da. But in general, biologically, it grows. So it shows we can actually have a feeling this other person is a part of me, and as a result of that, our love grows and it multiplies. So how about everyone is a part of me? No, not everyone. No, not everyone. Right? But in what way? I mean, I feel like, yeah, because this is my child, therefore it's a part of me. But people who adopt also have a very strong sense of this is, right? They love this child just as much as they would, so it doesn't necessarily even have to come from you. Okay? So just because I call it my child, then I have more love for this person. So if I say my human, my fellow Israeli, my fellow human, my fellow living being, right? It's just the power of the mind. It's the power of the mind. You can train yourself to see others as a part of you, because actually, why are they not part of me? I mean, here, this is what the Dalai Lama talks about in the very beginning. I didn't mention it yesterday, but we are dependent on the love and care of others up to the age of when? I don't know, actually our whole life, but okay. As children, there are times when we're really helpless and we're totally dependent on our parents. But our parents are dependent again on other people for their food, for their supplies. So there's so many people we're actually dependent on as we grow up, because otherwise we would die. When we're old also, the older we get, the more dependent we are on others too. Right? He mentions that. So we're dependent on the care of others, the love of others. Okay, not every caretaker feels love, but there's definitely a sense you want the other person to be happy. You're trying your best, and even if it's just for your salary, still that's a kindness the other person extends to you. Because all you give is money, but they give their time, they give their strength, etc. So therefore, when we're young, we depend on the care of others. When we're old, we need to depend on them. And in the meantime, what? We're really selfish and we don't care about anyone? That doesn't make sense, does it? And basically, because of interdependence, everything we have is because of others. I mean, you may say, well, I paid for it. Well, who made the money that enables you to pay for it? Who gave you the job that enables you to to work for it? Who created that environment? I mean, really everything. Who wants to live on an island, right? Just with a few coconuts. I mean, that would be the other extreme, like just being somewhere. Well, we live in a society, and we have a lot of comforts, we have a lot of benefits because of so many people involved. And this is a meditation we need to do. This is like going into all the nitty-gritty details. We don't remember when we were born, but there was a time we couldn't even move from one side to the next. We couldn't move from our belly to lie on our backside, and the other way around. So we needed our mom to help us. Every meal, every time we had to pee and poo, someone had to take care of it. I mean, think about it. And then our first steps, someone needed to teach us, be an example, teach us. Our first words, every word, from Ima, what is it? Abba, Safta, and then, right? Because they were all involved in that process. So you learn the names of all your relatives, which are somehow part of that process. And then, of course, your friends that help you, your classmates, your teachers, so many people. Where does pride have any? Where does arrogance have any place? We should be proud of everyone who's helped us to have the positive qualities we have now. We couldn't have them without others. We couldn't even have patience without obnoxious people. We couldn't have generosity without people who needed it. So the downtrodden, poor people, they help us to practice generosity. Those who are obnoxious, the obnoxious ones. What is the word for obnoxious in Hebrew? Nora. Okay, so, wow, the ones we really, they get us angry, but actually they give us such great opportunity to practice patience. Alright? So therefore, I'm trying to say is that, okay, we need to deal with the I, we need to deal with the self. But also on a different level of just these different emotions, there's so much reasoning, there's so much that can help us to understand that jealousy and envy doesn't help. It's much better to rejoice, to be truly happy for another person's success. Because also, a part that I forgot to mention, is that if we rejoice in another person's success, we are more likely to have that same success. While if we don't want the other person to have it, because of the interdependence, we create the cause for us not to have it either. If I don't want someone to have something, well, I create the cause for myself not to get it. If I'm happy for them, I create the cause. And just the way I feel. I mean, we feel miserable when we're jealous. We can't work that hard. When we're like really envious, and we can't work as hard as usual. Well, when we're rejoicing, we're happy, we're energetic, we can work much harder. So it's good for us all the way through. Okay? Anger, the same thing. Instead of being angry with an annoying person, wow, they're showing me my weaknesses. They're giving me the opportunity to see what I still have to work on. I'm still getting angry with little things. Oh, I'm so fortunate that I've met that person who's so obnoxious. It doesn't feel that way, and I know we don't react that way. But if we train ourselves, our lives are much happier right away. Plus, even this obnoxious person, very difficult for them to be obnoxious when you're really kind. Right? I mean, I'm not saying stupid kind. When it's enough, it's enough. But when they really felt understood, right, without they can use you and push you around, that's not what you want, because you're harming them in that way. Don't go to the other extreme, okay? I talked about this yesterday. Humility does not mean, humility means I understand my restrictions, I understand my negativities, my weaknesses, and I'm okay with them, I'm comfortable with them. So self-confidence and humility both. But you don't become like oh, I hope everyone likes me. I'm really sweet to everyone. I just agree with everyone. Just, beat me up if you want to. That's being stupid. That is the self-centered mind wanting to be liked, wanting to be seen as cute or as kind. No, not that. You don't need that. Just be truthful. Don't hurt the other person's feeling when it's not necessary, but also show them, maybe just being, you don't need to say something, often saying something, but just an expression, not going into it, just removing yourself, that's often enough. That's how the Tibetans deal with it. They don't like it, you kind of turn around a little bit and do their own thing, and you notice they don't like it. They don't need to say anything, right? So in a gentle way, they show you, no, don't approve. That's it. So it's this balancing act. It's this balancing act with all the different emotions that we experience. And that's so important. And of course, the first step is to become aware of them. Mindfulness here, of course. First, introspection, looking inwards, and then check in each moment. And that is again our problem in the 21st century. We are so busy. We're so busy, we're too busy, we don't have time. We're so busy all day long, doing things, keeping busy, and the thing is, sometimes you need to check, do I really need to do this? Or can I not bear to be a little quiet? Right? Do I just need the distraction? Okay? And a lot of people, they have a hard time being with themselves and just being quiet, so there has to be always something going on to distract them. And that is really sad, because then loneliness is much greater. You feel lonely because you can't really be with yourself, and others are not there to kind of refill that sense of emptiness in a negative way here, the sense of like lacking something. So then there's loneliness, then there's fear, there's anxiety. So to actually make more time. And this is also our stressful life. Actually, it's only stressful because the sense of self is quite strong, and therefore I need to be good. I need to do something. I must accomplish something on a daily basis. Just on a daily basis, I must do something that shows, like make more money, or make it something that is obvious to others. Something that is more obvious to others and obvious to myself. Right? And so therefore we're so stressed. Even if we didn't do all this work, it'd be okay, right? But we are having very strong expectations, very strong. I need to do a little bit. I can know my own mom. Unless she's done a really good day's of work, I mean, she feels like she has to do it. She needs to like almost go through a list of things, feeling like I've done something. Otherwise, she's not satisfied. If she just sat on her couch the whole day, oh, she feels like I wasted this day. But actually, just to sit and watch your own mind, right? Become aware of what's happening in your body, what's happening in your mind. That is so meaningful, but it seems like we haven't done anything. Okay? This is again, there are monks and nuns in Dharamsala, for instance. They don't do anything really. Right? Actually, all they do, they finish their studies, they finished what they usually, when they grow up, of course, you use the time to get an education. Nowadays, many of the monasteries have like an educational program. Of course, that's important. But then many of them, of course, nowadays, they're also caught by the thing, like, I have to achieve something. So not a lot of people go off to meditate any longer. But then, sometimes they don't really go into the mountains into this extreme situation, like leaving everything behind, because they don't know they can do it. But they just are. They just stay in their room, and they don't do anything specific, right? And if you ask them, what are you doing? They say nothing. Can you imagine? In the West, you meet someone, and I'm part of this, I always feel like I have to do something, I'm teaching, I'm translating, I'm always doing something. But can you imagine, like someone walks up to you and says, so what are you doing? Nothing. So I remember some time ago, I once met this monk who used to be my schoolmate, and I was with some other nuns. And I said, so, where are you these days? And he's like, I live over there. So what are you doing? And he said, nothing. And there was this awkward silence, because instead of me saying, that's good, I was like, oh. And these nuns, these Tibetan nuns, they were like later, and they scolded me. How can you say, you have to say doing anything, he's really practicing. He's really watching his mind. Look, he's doing nothing. He's not attached to this, that, and the other. And in my Western mind, I was like, oh, you're right. I created this awkward silence, right? It's again this, of course, like if you look at the Dalai Lama, he's always working for others. But he's always working for others. It's not about, I've done something. No, it's about who needs something. So the focus has changed. So as long as there's a sense, I accomplished something, I have done something, I have done a lot of work, then it's actually just giving into that. And then that's okay if we just work, that's one thing. But when we're stressed out, that's where the problem is. Actually, I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing things, we shouldn't. But when we get stressed out, that's where the self-grasping comes in. That's where the self-cherishing comes in. Why would we be stressed out? If we don't finish it, then we don't finish it. That's also okay. Again, humility as in like, I can be the one who doesn't finish. I can be the one who makes mistakes. I can be the one who didn't finish the deadline. Right? So, I'm telling you, the self-cherishing mind, the self-centered mind, the sense that I'm a little bit more important, I'm a little bit more precious, I need to be a little bit better than everyone else. My failure is worse than everyone. It creeps in all the time, and it gives us a lot of pressure. And that's what stress is. There is no stress in any kind of work. We make it stressful. It's that kind of mind, and it harms us. That's what I'm talking about. It's not a judgmental thing. You like to be stressed out? Go ahead. You like to be miserable? Oh, you know how to do it. I don't need to say how to do it. We all know how to do it, so no problem. Be a little jealous. Be a little angry. Be a little stressed out about right? It's just unnecessary. We harm ourselves unnecessarily. So why? Because of not understanding how the I exists. Okay? But, like I said, that is difficult and we'll deal with this. But I don't want you to just focus on that. Why? Because if you just focus on that, you neglect everything else. So as I said, to think about the I at times, but also in the meantime, you live your life. You are in the world, and trust me, if you're a nun or monk, you're also in the world. You live a normal life. There's a routine because you're with your own afflictions. I'm with my own afflictions, so I have my own stress, I have my own. All created by my self-centeredness. That's pretty normal, right? My life is not that different from yours because my emotions are not that different from yours. But to deal with them as they rise. So, jealousy, rejoice. Rejoice. Okay? So today, actually, what I want to do is to take you again as yesterday through the stages. As I said, I might say a few words about this now, and then make you rejoice. Spend some time on rejoicing. Feel really happy. And this is very effective. What is rejoicing in Hebrew? Ismoach. Right? So, and I'll tell you why this works. It seems fake. It seems fake, but I was once present in a meditation that was led by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. It was really funny. That allowed me to understand it actually works through a little bit of fakeness. So I tell you about it, and before we start the meditation, I want to say that, I want to explain you that. So what we did was this. We were in a big hall, many people present, and so he said, as part of like a teaching he gave, he said, let's take a moment and just rejoice. Just be happy. And you start off with being happy about your own success. Everything you've done well, feel truly happy for it. Feel really happy and grateful for what you've done. Okay? Feel that sense of, wow, how great. And then you expand it to great inspiring people. Be really happy for what they've done, maybe the Dalai Lama, maybe a great rabbi. Maybe she's done a lot of great work. I'm using the word she. So anyway, so you know, maybe a person, someone who's inspired you, and you can really rejoice. Oh, he has done such great work. She's done wonderful. And you really feel happy. And then you extend it towards people you don't know, but you've heard about. You're not inspired, but you think they're amazing. So you rejoice in them, and that sense of joy. Right? And you feel more joy, more and more joy grows in your heart. And then towards the people you don't know, their success. And then the people you're jealous. And in that sense of joy, the force of this mind, it can just embrace. And you feel like, oh my God, I can be happy for their success. It doesn't threaten me. I can really be happy. And you can actually, when you're brave enough, you go, may they have more of that. May they have even 2 cars. The car I really want. May they have 5 of them. And may they be really happy. Right? And you actually can feel that happiness. And it doesn't threaten you. And it makes you actually calmer and happier. So I looked around. I was in the front. As a nun, you usually sit in the front. So I was curious how they feel. So secretly I looked around. And I'm like, and there were all these faces. They were actually doing it, and they looked happy, they looked relaxed, right? So I'd like to do a meditation now. We have half an hour. What I'd like to do, no, we have more than that. We have an hour more. So what I'd like to do is go again one more time, explain the process, how we get from the misperception of reality. We're not starting to meditate right away, just explain you that, and then I'll lead you through the same meditation. It is the misapprehension of the I, perceiving the I to be more solid, more concrete, and independently existent as it actually is. That then gives rise to an exaggerated attitude which believes that this I is more important because the I is here and the rest is over there. So the I is a little bit more important, it's more precious. That exaggerated attitude leads to an attachment to myself, my own importance, and my own happiness, which is called self-centeredness, self-cherishing, or self-centeredness, or self-obsession, or self-focus, whatever you want to call it. An exaggerated, not self-care, not a healthy type of mind, but an exaggerated type of mind. And then you look for happiness. You want, this I needs to be happy. Its happiness is really important. Since I cannot find the happiness within me, why? Because I have this self-centeredness, which obstructs me from really being satisfied and really being content, because I always feel like I don't have enough. I start looking outside of myself. I start looking at the sense objects. Beautiful sights, beautiful people, pleasant sounds, pleasant conversation, pleasant, what have you, beautiful external, beautiful sights and sounds, beautiful smells, tastes, very important, good taste when I'm hungry, and of course, tangibly, temperature has to be just right, clothing needs to be just not too heavy, not too. So I'm basically looking for these objects, and now in the same way as I believe there's something intrinsic within me that's called I, and that is intrinsically important, now I do the same with other objects. When they make me feel good, I feel there's pleasure within them. I don't realize it's just my mind feeling good as a reaction to that. No, I feel the pleasure is within these objects. It's intrinsic in them. It's inherent in them. And then I want them. I want them badly. I exaggerate their positive aspect and crave it. And jealousy is just a type of mind where I have that craving, but I feel the other person is much more further away, not a part of me. No, they are totally separate, intrinsically separate, and I don't want them to have that. I want to be the one who has it, right? And so then once I've taken you through this process, then I will add the rejoicing part. Okay? So I'll ask you to stay away to let it go for a moment, the jealousy, and do the rejoicing. I'll lead you through it. Okay, are you ready to do that? Let's try that. So again, we'll do a few moments of focusing our mind. Then I'll